The McDonald's on the corner of Main Street was buzzing with the weekend crowd. Families with children, teenagers hanging out after school, and office workers grabbing a late lunch filled the booths and tables. In the middle of all this noise and chatter, a girl quietly stood in line, clutching a small wallet with trembling hands. Her name was Emily. She had just moved into town with her father, a police officer who had recently transferred to the local department. Emily wasn't used to big crowds and she hated attention, but she had promised her dad she would try to step out of her comfort zone, make new friends, and start a fresh chapter in this new place. Her blonde hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, and her pale skin glowed under the bright fluorescent lights of the restaurant. She wore a simple white shirt and jeans, nothing flashy, but her quiet demeanor made her stand out in a place where laughter and loud voices filled the air. She ordered a cheeseburger meal with a soft drink and found an empty booth by the window, sliding into the seat quickly and lowering her gaze to avoid eye contact with strangers. But Emily wasn't invisible. She never was. And the wrong kind of eyes always seemed to find her. A group of 5 boys at the far end of the restaurant had been watching her since she walked in. They were loud, arrogant, and the kind of kids who thought the world revolved around them. They wore hoodies and baseball caps, chains dangling from their necks, and they had that swagger of entitlement that came from years of never facing consequences. One of them, the leader of the pack, smirked and nudged his friend, nodding toward Emily. New girl. Never seen her before. Fresh meat. The others chuckled, their voices carrying easily through the air. She looks like she doesn't belong here, another said. Probably one of those quiet types who thinks she's better than everyone. Let's have some fun, the leader said, standing up and motioning for the others to follow. Emily had just unwrapped her burger when she noticed shadows falling across her table. She looked up and saw the 5 boys blocking her light, smirking down at her. Her stomach tightened instantly and her hands froze. She hated confrontation. Hey there, princess, the leader said mockingly, leaning his hand on her table. You're new around here, huh? Haven't seen you before. Emily swallowed hard. Yeah, just moved here. Another boy snickered. She talks. I thought she was mute or something. They all laughed, and the sound made Emily shrink back against her seat. She tried to focus on her food, but they weren't going anywhere. One of them reached forward and grabbed a fry from her tray, popping it into his mouth like he owned it. Thanks for the snack, he said with a smirk. Emily's hands shook. Please, can you not? She whispered. What's that, can you not? The leader mocked, exaggerating her words. He leaned closer until she could feel his breath. What are you going to do about it, huh? Call your mommy? The table erupted in laughter. Emily's chest tightened. She wanted to disappear, to sink into the seat and vanish, but she remembered what her father always told her. You don't have to fight, Emily, but you don't let anyone make you feel small. You have a voice. But in that moment, her voice felt trapped inside her throat. One of the boys suddenly slid into the booth beside her, trapping her against the window. He nudged her burger toward himself and took a bite out of it. Not bad. You gonna finish this? Emily's eyes welled with tears. She felt helpless, embarrassed, and angry all at once. People in the restaurant glanced over but quickly looked away, not wanting to get involved. The laughter of the boys drowned out the noise of everything else. The leader grabbed her drink and slurped it loudly through the straw before setting it back down with a satisfied sigh. Man, this is fun. Welcome to the neighborhood, sweetheart. Emily finally pushed herself up, trying to slide out of the booth, but the boy next to her blocked her way, pressing his arm against the seat. Where are you going? We're just getting to know each other. Her breath quickened. She was trapped. Then, a voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Is there a problem here? It was deep, steady, and filled with authority. The boys froze. Slowly, they turned to see a tall man in uniform standing just a few feet away. His presence was commanding, his broad shoulders filling the space, his badge gleaming under the lights. It was Officer Daniel Carter, Emily's father. Emily's eyes widened in relief, but also fear. She didn't want her dad to know she was being harassed, didn't want him to worry or think she couldn't handle herself. But Daniel wasn't just any dad. He was a police officer, and he could read danger from a mile away. The second he had walked in to grab a coffee and spotted those boys cornering his daughter, his protective instincts went into overdrive. The leader of the boys tried to play it cool. He leaned back, smirk still plastered on his face. "Now, officer, we're just talking," making the new girl feel welcome. Daniel's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, his hand resting lightly near his belt, not on his weapon, but enough to remind them of his authority. "Funny. From where I'm standing, it looks like you're stealing her food, blocking her in, and making her uncomfortable." The boys shifted uncomfortably. The other customers were watching now. Emily's dad leaned down slightly, his voice low but firm. "You've got 10 seconds to back away from my daughter and walk out of this restaurant like civilized human beings. Otherwise, we're going to have a very different kind of conversation outside. And trust me, you don't want that." Silence. The leader's smirk faltered. He glanced at his friends, trying to decide whether to push back or retreat. But the intensity in Daniel's eyes was undeniable. It wasn't just the stare of a father. It was the stare of a trained officer who had seen worse than a group of punk kids. One by one, the boys started moving. The one beside Emily slid out of the booth, muttering something under his breath. The leader tried to save face, scoffing loudly. "Whatever, man. She's not even worth it." Daniel straightened, his voice steady. "You're right. She's worth more than you'll ever understand. Now get out." The boys shoved their hands into their pockets and walked out, their fake confidence crumbling with each step. The door swung shut behind them, leaving the restaurant heavy with silence. Emily sat frozen, her eyes glistening. She felt ashamed for not being stronger, for letting them take her food and laugh at her. But when her father turned to her, there was no disappointment in his eyes, only pride and fierce love. "You okay, kiddo?" he asked softly, kneeling beside her. Emily nodded, though her voice cracked. I tried to ignore them. I didn't know what to do." And Daniel reached out and gently held her hand. "You don't have to handle everything alone, Emily. You did the right thing by staying calm. And remember, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stand your ground without sinking to their level." Emily blinked back tears and nodded again. Her dad squeezed her hand before sitting beside her. He pushed her half-eaten tray toward her. "Eat up. I'll get you another drink. Don't let a few cowards ruin your meal." For the first time that day, Emily smiled faintly. She realized her dad wasn't just her protector. He was her anchor. And maybe, just maybe, she was stronger than she thought, because she had him by her side. But what neither of them knew was that this wouldn't be the last encounter with those boys. Their bruised egos wouldn't let them walk away so easily. Trouble was only beginning to brew.